When the allegations of rape were made against Bill Shorten, the press wouldn't go near the woman. She's been scrubbed as if she never existed. She didn't matter.
Good point.
So when we see this concept that is put forward all the time, that it's about imbalance, that it's about not having enough women in the place. Oh, someone did complain that politicians usually give stories and more credibility to male journalists than they do to female journalists. All of this sort of thing is trying to contextualise it. But what happened today in the Senate? What did we see?
Oh, we'll get
we
there.
saw the Green, but it's the same question. We saw a woman in a party that has lots of women in it, which espouses, like the handsome young woman when she was, when a Liberal Democrat was...
she subsequently won a defamation
proceeding. She won a defamation suit. But this woman deliberately, in a debate, said something so crude and rude that it puts other things into the shade.
I agree.
And yet there is not a word. Not a word from Mr Brandt, not a word from Ms Jenkins. Perhaps she could have had something to say. Not a word from the Labor Party. I was disappointed to hear Tanya Plibersek say, if it were true. There is no doubt that it was true, what was said. So we get into this high dudgeon where there's a presumption that it's only women who are good and that there are no good men.
Yeah.
Well, it's not true. I served there for 30 years, Paul. Maybe they were more frightened of me than most, and that's okay too. I have no problem with that.
They still are.
They love you. They love you.
But the reality is that you are answerable to the people. As Rita did say, you are answerable to the people who elect you.
Can we move on to Lidia Thorpe?
Yeah.
Can we? The most unhinged MP that I have seen in 40 years of watching federal parliament. The most unhinged. What you didn't hear, if you listen very carefully and turn the sound up really loudly, when she interrupted the discussion about Disability Day...
That's right.
She ranted and screamed and ranted and screamed, and I played it back this afternoon. It goes for about 28 seconds. She was told on no less than 5 occasions by the President to sit down and be quiet. Sit down and be... 27 seconds is a long time.
Yeah.
She is unhinged. And the fact that she said that to Holly Hughes, I know the little boy. I've met the little boy, Freddie. He is a terrific, lovable... You can't but fall in love with him at the get-go. And what Holly does with a full-time job as a single mum, handling his ins and outs and his ups and downs is heroic. That would have hurt that woman more than anything. I would say the hurt that has come from what she said today to Holly Hughes is far greater hurt than what we have seen come from the mouth of Rachel Miller.
Yeah, well, absolutely correct. But also, if we can find that grab and replay, that'd be great. Super producing team will do it. But also, can I just add on this one, which also is that remember, Lidia Thorpe is somebody who shoots from the hip, carries on all the rest of it right, but is rewarded because the people she attacks, of course, are the bad people, the Team Blue. Remember when she hooked into the a minister in the Northern Territory, probably some white fella, ended up being a black woman.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'll just push to the narratives, I'll just go through. We're finding that grab in a second, but Gleeso.
And Paul, the hypocrisy, the breathtaking hypocrisy from Sarah Hanson-Young and Penny Wong and Tanya Plibersek, who clearly, very clearly know that this was completely out of order. And I heard Holly Hughes being interviewed today, and she was in tears. And Amanda Stoker went over and grabbed her and said, "Are you okay?" Those women never went anywhere near her. And I think that's disgraceful. So much for the sisterhood in Canberra.
There is none.
But also, don't forget, Rita, remember all of the pop psychologists who were trying to work out what was really going on when Josh Frydenberg walked over to Bridget Archer a week ago and said, "Mate, are you okay?" That was apparently, according to the future Green senator from Tasmania, was apparently an act of psychological violence.
Well, absolutely. And we had Labor MPs post that photo and say he was standing over her, he was bullying her. It was absolutely disgusting. But what was said today, it just crosses all sorts of lines. It is disgusting. It is despicable. And there's no doubt, and Senator Hughes has said this, that she took that as a comment about her son who suffers from autism, and it's a disgusting comment by itself, but when someone's talking about disability and you say it and you are referring to their disabled son, then it comes to it is just so disgusting. I struggle to actually find words for it. I think she is so gracious, Senator Hughes, for accepting Lidia Thorpe's apology.
Yes.
I can tell you I wouldn't be accepting that apology. I would not be accepting that apology.
She's accepted
not in
the
this
apology.
lifetime.
She's accepted the apology, but asked for her to lose her position. Now, does that mean from the Senate?
Yeah.
I think it does. Now, the reason that...
But she's not going anywhere. They're not going to give on her.
Of course not. And the reason that she isn't thrown out of the Senate by the President or the acting President is because they haven't got the numbers to do it.
But how would not Liberal and Labor join together and go, you know what? As much as Team Red, Team Blue hate each other, that's not on.
Yeah.
Here's what Smithy was talking about before.
sorry, if...
Point of order.
Senator Thorpe, what is the point of order on?
In the last 8 hours, we've had
Senator
two
Thorpe,
Aboriginal women
there is
die
no point
in
of order.
custody.
Senator Thorpe, resume your seat. There is no point of order. There is no point of order. Senator Thorpe. Senator Thorpe. Senator Thorpe. Senator Thorpe. Senator Thorpe.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Sorry, Bronwyn, I've cut you off.
No, I was saying that you can't say that the Labor Party would have voted to remove her because, as I said, I was so disappointed in Tanya Plibersek, who usually has a much more balanced approach, to say if it were true. There is no doubt it was true, and there is not one person in that parliament in Canberra who does not know that Holly Hughes has a son who is autistic.
Can I ask,
one.
again, the 30 years and all of us with our perspectives of observing this for a while, it feels like that we are in either a new era or a low bar, right, where the things you can... So anyone can stand and just keep shouting about something in a parliament, right? But part of the difference between being an activist on the street in Spring Street and somebody who's actually in the parliament is there's limits on how long you can speak. There's a level of decorum, right? You've got that stuff. You've got the sort of character-based sniping that's going on. Literally the same group of people that were carrying on about, should there have been a photo about Barnaby Joy? All of that a couple of years ago, and now boots and all into literally just running unchecked all day, all night allegations about things like assault. Because this only gets worse. This doesn't get better.
Yep.
How do you feel about where we sit tonight, about what counts for how you can carry on and what you can get away with?
Well, what's happened is that the place has been brought into disrepute. And all the talk about the way in which people react together, I'll tell you this. We've gone through many phases in the parliament where people say, oh, we're working hours that are too long. That came up in the Jenkins report too. And so we must get up at 8 o'clock. We had doctors who say, must get up at 8 o'clock and get some proper rest. OK. Well, it wasn't too long before we were sitting right back till 11 o'clock at one stage, because when people are like that in Canberra and they're up at 8 o'clock, what do? They go out.
Get on the cans with your mates at night.
There's no work going on, and so they're away from their families. It's like being overseas, and the way some people behave that way. So you come back and you keep a good discipline going. But the important thing is this: that some of the worst examples of what has gone on, and of course Ms Higgins is an example of that. That happened outside the Parliament House on a Friday. Nobody was there. Now, whatever, the court will decide whatever that is to be, and nobody deserves to be treated badly.
But even again, in that
the
situation,
long and the short of it,
female politician, female chief of staff, remember, the concept of everything goes away if you change the gender of everyone in the city. In that exact office, female politician, female chief of staff.
That's exactly right.
But how can Penny Wong react as fervently as she did when she heard a growl in the Senate? And not a word from Penny Wong, not a word from Penny Wong when she hears not only slut-shaming, but in the context of what it says was a total disrespect for someone who was trying to have a family, sadly had an autistic kid, but now goes through the hardship of having a family and dealing with the autism. It's heroic. She should be feted and fated for what she does, Holly Hughes. And yet, not a word from Penny Wong. And as for that little runt, Adam Bant, what a weakling that he went and hid under the table all day.
Correct. Instead, talking about power sharing and shadow ministers. By the way, greatest hits of Lidia Thorpe. We did this today. Have a look.
To this lot, black lives don't matter in the Beetaloo. It's shameful shame. Black lives don't matter in the Beetaloo, do they? Black lives don't matter in the Beetaloo, do they? As long as I'm sitting here in my workplace hearing lies from the senator from Queensland, who obviously has an issue with black people in this country. The pain that I saw in Eddie's eyes and the tears that I saw from Eddie, we actually refer to them as white tears. I do hope the Attorney-General, given he probably didn't read the Royal Commission recommendations, hopefully he listens to these experts. Hopefully they're white, and, white is right in this place.
And remember, the Attorney-General was a woman and black. But Rita, here's the thing. If Donald Trump was anything, Donald Trump was like the human personification of the comment section of a website. If Lidia Thorpe is anything, she's the personification of Twitter, right? Where the louder you scream, the shorter you point, the ruder it is, the lower you hit. And that's what I'm talking about the future of our politics, right? Now, we're never going to go back to 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. It'd be great if we did, but I thought part of the capacity of the people who run these chambers or run these parties is to be able to kick these people back into line. But it seems like if you've got the right bio, you can go nuts.
Well, I don't think our parliamentarians should all be judged by Lidia Thorpe's standard. I mean, she was put into that position. She didn't go to an election, did she? Am I missing something? She was gifted that seat. But
the rest of them let it ride, Rita. The rest of them let it ride.
They do. They do. And, the media, I think, is most to blame. Some of the pieces written about her, the photographs taken, it's she's some sort of a heroine, as opposed to someone who is
will always be the best.
consistently just spouting the most divisive, poisonous, illogical, insane nonsense and not being held to account for it. If you had a Conservative woman make one of the mistakes she has made, they would never be able to live it down, ever. But her mistakes are just covered up and, she's held up as some sort of a heroine because she ticks the boxes. But I think most Australians see through that. It's the media that's the problem, and it's perhaps some of the parliamentarians we have that have the problem.
And ironically, we will cop more repercussions for this conversation than she did for what she says. That you know what's coming, right? Yeah. You know what's coming. All right. Gleeso, then Bronnie gets the last say, as always. Gleeso?
Well, yeah, I just think it's symptomatic of what's going on with the Greens party in this country. I mean, they are recruiting people like her from protests where people, glue themselves to bridges and, disrupt traffic. And, we've got a councillor here in Queensland, in Brisbane, a bloke called John O'Shree, and he is absolutely the epitome of Lidia Thorpe, but he's a male. And, the more crazy, the more extreme and the more radical their policies, the more they get empathy from their followers because they see them as these sort of rebels with a cause.
Because they want all of us blowing up on TV.
Exactly. But, Paul, that bloke that stopped the blockade of trains down there in New South Wales and got 12 months jail. He'll spend 6 months in jail. He did that 20 times in Queensland, got a slap on the wrist from the lefty judges up here. Sure. And he's been... There was a protest today in Brisbane, brought the CBD to a standstill, and they were protesting about the fact that this bloke had been thrown into jail. These people are dead set crazy.
They'll only get serious about the 2 weeks in 11 years' time.
You just have to understand that the Greens hate Australia. They hate everything we stand for. They hate the aspirations of the people. They want world government. They don't like the nation state, and they attract the sort of people who simply want to destroy everything we've got.